Today we're going to be talking about manufactured homes. Now, when I use the word manufactured homes, I am speaking to mobile homes, manufactured homes, even modular homes. I am talking about homes that are prefab and built on the site where you put them. So a lot of times people will use the term mobile home and think that it's different than manufactured home. I'm not talking about fifth wheels or anything like that. I am talking about an actual manufactured home, not built from drywall, but it's brought in and it's prefab. So now that we have determined what we're talking about, you may be thinking about moving to Florida and you thought that, okay, you know what, I'm going to buy a little manufactured home. I'm going to call it my little beach cottage by the sea. Yes, I'm probably going to be 10 miles or more from the sea, but that is okay. I want something that's affordable with a lanai on the front and the back, and I want to live in a 55 plus community where I can have like-minded folks that just want to bike ride every day, go to spaghetti dinners up at the clubhouse, go to the pool. I am looking forward to that life. Listen, it sounds wonderful, and there are many people out there that do live that life. But what I want to talk to you about today is some of the pitfalls that you can accidentally fall into, and that little pitfall will all of a sudden feel like quicksand in your cute little beach cottage by the sea. So let's jump into it. All right, first of all, if this is the first time we're meeting, I want to introduce myself. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for over 26 years. So hopefully I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate all things Florida. So if you would like to book some time with me, maybe you're not ready to buy, maybe you're going to buy in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, maybe you just want to have a conversation about how all of this could work. Down in the description box, you can book some time with me and we will dive into it. All right, so the pitfalls, the traps that can come up in purchasing a manufactured home. Number one, and this is the most important thing in my opinion, do you own the land? Is this a park rental? Is this a co-op ownership? Those are two very different things. Or do you actually own the land? Now you might be thinking, well, if I own the land, I probably have to be out in a rural setting all by myself. I don't want to do that. I don't want to dig a septic tank. I don't want to have to bring in utilities. I want somewhere where there's all these amenities, and like I said, the life I want to live with all of my friends 55 plus around me. Those do exist, and you own the land. I can give you one just off the top of my head in Bonita Springs, Florida, called Imperial Harbor. Those range in prices from about, in an older one, you can buy an older 1970s style unit for maybe around $180,000 or so, on up to new ones. You can bring a new one in and spend whatever you want on that. But you do actually own your land. Some of the people that live in that community have pools, literally button right up, their own private pool, right there by their mobile home, their manufactured home, because they own the land. You can put gardens in. Anything that the HOA will allow you to do, you can do. Another thing that I like about that particular community is that they have a club you can join. So you pay like $1,500 for the year and you can use the pool, and they've got bocce courts, and they have a like a clubhouse. So you can be sort of a member of their little Imperial Harbor Club. And that's just one. I mean, there's several more. Like I said, if you're interested in going a little further on that, you can always reach out to me down below in the description box. But there is definitely a distinction between owning your land, where your fees are going to be far lower. I think in that particular community, the fees are in the ballpark of $50, $60 a month, which is essentially nothing. But when you get into park rentals, that's going to be much, much higher because you're just leasing the land. So in Florida, and in coastal Florida in particular, you're looking at usually anywhere from, on the lower end, $400 a month to on up to $1,100, $1,200 a month. So what do you actually have there? Well, you have your unit, but you don't own the land below it. You're just borrowing the land. In a co-op, it's a little bit different. You own a share in the co-op that owns the land, but still yet you do not own your land. Now, the good thing about the co-op is that your fees tend to be lower than in park rentals. So you do have, it's a little bit better in my opinion, ownership than a rental, depending on what you want to do, but you still have those problems. You just own a share in the co-op that owns the land. So it's really important. That is number one when you're considering a mobile home or a manufactured home. Do you own the land? Number two, the age of the actual unit itself. So as they age, and in particular, when you get older than say 1976, 1978, in that kind of range, even if something has been well taken care of, it just really gets to the point where you're better off to scrape it and start over. Mobile homes, manufactured homes, they do not retain value the way that real property does. And when I'm saying real property, what I mean is a stick-built house. There is a big difference in the two. The way that you should look at a manufactured home is that it's like a car. The second it's pulled off the lot, it depreciates. And that is the same situation with a manufactured home or a mobile home, unless you own your land. If you own your land, then you have something of value. But if you just have this metal manufactured home, and granted, there are many right now that are really nice. They have come a long way. I have driven through a lot of those little cute 55 plus communities, and they are darling. There's tons of activities. They're a little more affordable, actually a lot more affordable for the most part than a stick-built house, more affordable than a condo, but you really have to know what you're getting into. There are many things that require maintenance on a manufactured home. So we're going to jump into the third thing that I see all the time, and that is floors that start to dip and slant. Keep in mind the carriage that that house is sitting on, and also the house could have been moved in the past. So you definitely, if you're interested in a manufactured home, you want to be very aware when you're walking the floor, if it's slanting, if it's moving, if you feel that little dip in the floor, because those little dips, those little soft spots might mean that you need to replace the entire undercarriage of the manufactured home. And I have seen that many times in older manufactured homes. That's the number one thing that I see go wrong first. And I think some of that, you know, a lot of these communities are relatively close to the water. And by relatively close, I mean a lot of them are in Florida. And if they're on coastal Florida, they might be 5-10 miles from the water. Well, if I'm speaking specifically to like Southwest Florida, there are several communities that sit on lower lying land. And if water comes through and it floods, and it doesn't get all the way up into your unit, but it's hitting the undercarriage of that unit, that will soften the floors underneath. You can have heavy rain that can do that. Many things can cause that problem, and that tends to be the biggest problem in those manufactured homes. Also, don't forget polybutylene pipes. If you've never heard of that before, and maybe you haven't, basically back in, I don't think they have put those in homes since around 1986-ish. The fittings on these pipes have been known, not all of them, but many of them, enough that there was a class action lawsuit way back when, but there are still a lot of those fittings around. On those pipes, they tend to give way, and if that happens, you can wind up where pipes burst in your house, and then you have a big problem. So you want to be aware of that as well in manufactured homes. But as an aside, that's going to be anywhere in Florida. I see polybutylene pipes pretty often, and depending on the type of disclosure that was used, a lot of times homeowners either one, don't know, or two, don't disclose. So definitely, that's just kind of as an aside, be aware of polybutylene pipes. And then the other thing I really want you to be aware of if you choose to go forward with a manufactured home is that if you are somewhere where there's a park rental, you could end up where the owner of the park decides to sell. What do you do at that point? You don't own your land. You're going to be given X amount of time to get your home off of the land that the owner owns. And there is nothing you can do about it. It is happening all over Florida right now. There are many people that are 55 plus, many seniors who have found their little oasis in Florida, and they're being told that they have 90 days to get that property moved because the owner is selling the land. Maybe they're selling the land to a new home development. Maybe their condos are going to go up. There isn't anything you can do about it. If they give you proper notice, you have to go because you are only leasing that land. That is a big problem for folks, especially right now, because there's a lot of owners that have owned these pieces of land that house hundreds of mobile homes, and the owners, they're ready to move on. They're ready to move on and change their investment. Maybe they're ready to divest from that ownership, and you can't do anything about it. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I want everybody to go into that eyes wide open because, like I said, I can think of several places in Florida where that's going on right now. Big problem in Kissimmee, big problem in Orlando. That is happening. So please think that through before you put something that feels permanent to you, like a home. And even though those homes can be moved, keep in mind, who's going to pay to have the entire house moved? Do you know how expensive that is? So think that through before you jump into that. So basically, I just want you to think through it. I'm not saying don't buy a manufactured home. Don't go buy something that's going to sit in a park rental. But I am saying, please do your research. Please think through, because there will be significant limitations and there could be problems that you want to be aware of and be ahead of the curve before it happens. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to help. All of my contact information is below, and I will see you in the next couple days for another video.